themselves. So it will be a consequence of the effect of Nietzsche's text to make us at least question whether we can come up with the right interpretation of a text, of a situation, of a person. I mean, interpretation, again, to try to make it concrete and not some academic matter, interpretation is very important. For example, you've fallen in love for the first time, and things have been going great, and then one night you're out and you look and the person frowns for a few minutes. And a whole train of interpretations may start off that are humanly important. This is not, grad school. This is stuff you want to know about. What is this frowning business? It's been going great. I don't know what. The frowning. So interpretation's a rich human matter and not a theoretical matter. Okay, now let me get back to my starting points. The first one, we'll have to deal with the text generated by Nietzsche's specific positions and the work within his writings, and we will do that. The second is the paradox generated by his writings, the paradox, what we'll call the paradox of interpretation, one which I have not yet spelled out Nietzsche's case for, but I will as we go along. And then now we come to the third, and for me most interesting paradox, which arises from my own situation here, lecturing on Nietzsche in a new medium at the trajectory of a culture that Nietzsche saw as one that was leading to what he referred to as nihilism, the last man, the death of a certain form of being human. And to present the first set of paradoxes, and then to try to give you a sense for the paradox generated by his work, and then thirdly, to do it from this position, and in this context and in this culture, presents for me a third and deeper personal subjective paradox. Because on the one hand, I don't want to leave the text of Nietzsche as the possession, as a sort of esoteric possession of snooty elites. Not happy with that. On the other hand, I don't want it to lose its striking power by being somehow trivialized in the process of presenting it, which puts me in a third position. And I guess that given also the second one, it generates another problem, which is, why am I here doing this instead of one of you? So I have to give an answer to that right away, and I'll start with a blunt one. And that's that I've probably read more of this than you have. That would be the answer you'd get from your mechanic about fixing a carburetor. Well, I've read the carburetor book. I've fixed these things. You go, well, I've never fixed it. And you go, okay, you try to fix it this time. So there's one analogy. And if one of you has read more, then you can come up here now. It's okay. I mean, I won't be offended. Just whatever. I'll have to leave that joke out. We'll cut that one. Anyway, another kind of example might be this. Doing Nietzsche might be something like housework, just something that has to be done over and over again, not trying to denigrate the unwaged labor under capital performed by women. That's how I describe housework. Unwaged labor, valorizing capital done by women, unwaged. But I don't want to put housework down, because I think it should be waged at the very least. It should have a wage. But in any case, it may be that interpreting Nietzsche will have to be something like housework, work to be done over and over again by a whole series of people who read and reread Nietzsche. In other words, I won't be up here trying to claim the authority of Nietzsche for anything. I will be making a kind of use of him. Now, that won't release me from the full paradox, as you'll see as we begin to look through his work. In fact, we'll just have to deal with a lot of paradoxes as we look through his work. And for people who enjoy neat and tidy lecture courses that have a lot of demonstrative arguments with conclusions that are necessary, this is really the wrong morning or afternoon for you to have shown up, because that will not be what Nietzsche offers. What Nietzsche offers is a lot less, if you're a professional philosopher today. By that I mean a lot less being no arguments that could be symbolized and then put into one of our journals, which are read by 11 people, who, if they were all killed on the same bus, no one then would ever know about the journal again. 11 people read some of these things, or 12, if you're popular. In any case, those are the three sets of paradoxes. Text, paradox within the text, paradox generated by the reading of Nietzsche, and then the third, the paradox that belongs to anyone who attempts to present Nietzsche's text. Okay, now that's an introduction to what I will do. Now, the first topic, and it's listed in the lecture, is myth. And one of the things that Nietzsche is, among many other things, and now that I say Nietzsche is, the Nietzsche as proper name refers not to this pathetic little man, you know, and his terrible little life, but to the text of Nietzsche. Okay? Remember that I've made that distinction, and I'll try to explain that one too as I go along. But one of the things that we need to look at as we go through that is that myth will be one of the topics of the text of Nietzsche that's very important. And it won't be that Nietzsche discusses myth in detail, although frequently he does discuss myth, or that he uses myth in his writings, which he not only does, but in the case of Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he creates one of his own, quite beautiful, quite brilliant. I'm sure some of you have heard, at least you know there's a piece of music based on it. You're probably familiar with the prelude to it, which opens 2001, A Space Odyssey, the sort of Übermensch, Overman prelude. Anyway, myth is not only used by him, he doesn't only create one, but the topic of the relationship between myth and what some other philosophers have called modernity, modern life. I'm sometimes tempted just to simply call it capitalism, and usually will. Modern life. To try to make that come alive, you need to think about films like Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. You know, you have a sort of pastoral life, kind of pastoral and farming and stuff, and all of a sudden real fast machines. It's one way to visualize modernity. Another way is in the text of Kafka, these lines of bureaucrats, faceless little Joseph K's wandering towards an impossible justice. That's another way to imagine it. A way to theorize it is to read thousands of pages of Max Weber, bore you to death. Boring, but it will help you theorize it. So modernity is connected, importantly connected, with the Enlightenment. And we will have to discuss Nietzsche as in a certain very important sense, involved in what I will refer to as the dialectic of enlightenment. He will be involved in both a critique of the Enlightenment, a criticism of it, but then he will, of course, make use of its insights at the same time. And the critique of enlightenment that Nietzsche originates accounts for the title of the overall lecture series, which is The Postmodern Condition. Because if in any sense at all we are either in or headed toward a situation after modern life or postmodern, a term that some of you are familiar with, then certainly an important figure will be Nietzsche, both for the myths that he constructed about such a life and for the myth I just constructed that he may have had a role in constructing such a life, because that's probably a myth as well. Okay. Now, the importance of Nietzsche. I mean, now we're going to do a little standard academic treatment here. The importance of Nietzsche. One of the reasons that I selected this course is because it's always good to discuss a thinker who's discussed in Time magazine and becomes the topic of routine polemics on Buckley and elsewhere. That's important because that's a part of our objective culture. It's a topic for conversation. And that makes your remarks more understandable and gives a real social purpose to doing it. So Nietzsche's importance is, as I said, in a sense, obvious. Nietzsche is the main target in Bloom's book. He is the study of Nietzsche, along with, I think, looking at Woody Allen films. Let me try to locate the fall of Western universities in Bloom, okay? I'll just